Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations and former National Security Advisor John Bolton joins me. Good evening, sir. And what do you make of the fact that the two chiefs of the intelligence agencies meet in Turkey?
Well, I think they have had discussions, and I'm not sure whether they were in person earlier in the war. And Jake Sullivan, current National Security Advisor, has been in touch with his counterpart and others by phone in recent days. I have to say, despite White House denials that they're not pushing Ukraine into negotiation, that they think that General Milley's statements about negotiations during the winter were not U.S. policy, it looks a lot to me like they're trying to lay some kind of groundwork here, and that there's more than meets the eye, more than we know about in these sort of informal readouts of what the conversations entailed.
Well, the informal is that the readouts is that they discussed nuclear weapons in Ukraine, but it's also something that President Biden discussed with President Xi in China. They're both bringing up that same topic. Obviously, nuclear weapons is a serious topic, but it struck me that they both President Biden and the CIA director, brought that up with our counterparts.
Yeah, I mean, I think any time you hear the Russians threaten the use of nuclear weapons, it is worth taking seriously, although to date it's been clear that Putin has been bluffing. Now, if what the Russians were given was a very clear message of the severity of the consequences if nuclear weapons were used, that's important. Of course, we don't know exactly how that was phrased, and that's pretty significant, too.
Do you know anything about Naryshkin?
I don't. I've never met him myself. It's not unusual for the directors of intelligence to have discussions. There are discussions with counterparts right across the board. Again, General Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has had phone conversations with his counterpart recently. And hopefully they're all giving the same message and that there's no daylight between them.
Any significance that they met in Turkey?
Well, I think the Turks have tried to present themselves as kind of a moderating force. They've been involved in discussions about the shipments of grain, for example, out of Ukraine. But it's a little bit disturbing, I have to say, when a NATO ally is trying to play a mediating role here. It's a real problem we've got with Turkey. I don't think we should underestimate it, and I don't think we should underestimate the Russian efforts to use Turkey as an intermediary to gain advantage, particularly with the Europeans, who I think we should worry may crack under the strain of economic pressure this winter. Hopefully not, but I think that's what Putin and the Russians are playing for.
Did the U.S. gain anything from the President Biden, President Xi meeting?
Well, I've looked very hard at what the president said, what others have said. It looks to me like they came, they saw, and they had a meeting. And because of COVID and travel restrictions and President Biden's limited travel, it's the first in-face meeting they've had in person. But I don't think you should overstate what happened. The White House is saying, well, this meeting lasted for 3 hours, so that sounds like a long meeting, except everybody should understand what that really means is conversation took about an hour and a half, and translation took the other hour and a half. And obviously I wasn't there, but in other meetings with Xi Jinping where I have been present, he has read lengthy statements from prepared text in front of him. And, you can send that in writing. You don't have to do it in person. And I feel certain President Biden followed a script that he read. So how much interchange there was, how much real progress, other than that they agreed to send Secretary of State Blinken to Beijing, another milestone in American history. I think they had a meeting, that's fine, but I wouldn't overstate what the consequences of the meeting are.
Ambassador Bolton, thank you, sir.
Thank you.